Ladies and gentlemen, I offer my sincerest apologies on this, the 194th episode of Candid Conversations. Today has possibly been one of the most topsy-turvy days ever, okay? Let's start with, like, I started the day with the doctor. Everything's cool. Just had to, get some stuff checked out because we're playing sports, and I want to make sure that I'm not where we're not getting injured or injuring something that's hurt. You know what I mean? So that was fine. But before we got to the doctor's office, I walked off my porch to see a squirrel standing in front of my car. Now, for the most part, I kind of ignore these things because of the populace of them. But this particular squirrel was just frozen in front of my car, and it didn't scurry like most would when I approach. So I kind of looked at it, had a little Dr. Doolittle moment, and walked away. As I walked to my door of my car, the squirrel crawled to my feet and started to crawl up my leg.
What?
Yeah, it started to crawl up my leg. So I'm like, okay, like I wasn't scared of it. I was just surprised by the whole occurrence. So then my girlfriend comes over and she's like, oh, he loves you. And, does that mushy, lovey-dovey thing that I love her for. And then she picks him up and proceeds to, give him a look over. And she's she's a naturalist, I call her, because like if it has to do with Mother Nature, she's all about it. So for the last few hours, we've been kind of making sure that that little guy has himself taken care of. Now, what that does for my image in the street, I don't know. But what it does for my image before God, I hope it improves. Other than that, I have absolutely no reason to be interfering with this thing. But here I am. And you think, and it's not the first time either, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second squirrel that has been taken in and nursed to its health. So I'm beginning to think I'm like some kind of animal rehabilitation shelter or something like that. I don't know, man. All I know is whatever God has in store for us is greater than what we know of ourselves. So we're here to talk about GoldenBronze and her endeavors. I just had to let y'all know what it was that took us so long to get to this point because yeah, and then my daughter called me. She's at a concert right now, so I had to make sure she was okay. Time is a precious thing it's fleeting.
Right.
But I offer no excuse. I just give you the reasoning behind my situation and hope that I can exercise forgiveness.
We have grace on you, yes. You're here
Mm,
now.
indeed. We are here now. So let us talk about. I want to make sure it's said properly, and usually I hear it two ways, and the way I say it is never the right way the first time. So can you please tell us about your company, what you're doing, and how people can participate in your movement?
Yes. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization that advocates against domestic violence towards women, but we also advocate for women's health issues, including mental health, self-care, and mindfulness. So what that means is when women have already fled their abusive environment, they go to a shelter for domestic abuse. We are in partnership with a few of them, but we work exclusively with one of them. And when they are dismissed, usually after 90 days stay, they are referred, some of them, to us for mentorship, guidance, and we also help them with furnishing or decoring a room in their home apartment. So say like if usually when they leave with just the clothes on their backs and nothing more. So we will help them either furnish or decor a living room, a bedroom, or something like that to help them financially. We assist with giving gently used clothing to the families, hair care products, whatever the domestic violence center's wish lists are. We try to fulfill some of that. We are not to the point where we could do all of it, but that's the whole purpose of this podcast and others, to solicit donations and sponsorships. We have several ladies of various professions that add value to Golden Swan Cadre, and they offer tutors, prayer. We have a minister, we have a teacher, we have a motivational speaker, we have several travel agent, realtor, nurse, several professional levels that have expertise and knowledge with mentoring and motivating these young ladies to not return to their abusive environment. A lot of people go back to their abusers because they can't afford to live on their own or whatever, and that's where we help them out at, in a
Now,
nutshell.
now here's a question that some people might want to ask but be afraid to. What's the first step in breaking that cycle? How do you unfamiliarize yourself with something that you've grown accustomed to in that kind of regard where it comes to abuse?
That's a very good
Hello,
question.
Bianca.
When they leave home and go to a domestic violence center, they're not just housed there. They have clinicians, they have counselors that counsel them and help them get over whatever obstacle it is that keeps them going back to their abuser. Now, I can tell you from experience that some people stay because they have children and they don't want to have their kid a statistic or raise them in a single family home, or they have no income and they are afraid to just step out there without any income, or they're threatened. So when they go to these centers for 90 days, they have clinical psychologists, counselors, and clinicians that work with them to help them break that cycle. When they think that they have accomplished that goal, they discharge them, and that's when they will refer a family to us to help that person set up in their apartment or whatever. And our job that we hope to fulfill is to continue to counsel with them, to motivate them, to be mentors, because a lot of us are domestic abuse survivors. And not only are we survivors, we are now thrivers. So we walked in their shoes. We know what they went through, and we can give them our experience on how to not return to that. But they really have to want to not return to it, because we've had one family that did go back to their abuser and just kind of cut off communication with me. So it does happen.
It's unfortunate when it's like you can't decide who needs help until they tell you, but I know myself, I've been in situations where from observation it looks like I should say or do something, and I'm not exactly sure how to approach.
And that is one of the things that we talk about when um, we have special events where we address domestic violence. And one of the things that we do is try to help people recognize the red flags to look for. And if you suspect it, you should probably try to pull the person aside or go to lunch or find some way to get that person alone and let them know that you suspect it and offer them assistance. And, you could even refer them to us because we have resources. We tie in with the National Domestic Violence Center, so we can help somebody long distance if they want to. But you just
Okay.
kind of have to approach them sympathetically, empathetically. Say, hey, I noticed that you're always bruised up, or, whatever it is that you're noticing. Is it something you would like to talk about? I really like to help you. And sometimes people will open up to a total stranger.
Now, someone pointed out to me one time that if they were in an abusive relationship and someone did pull them to the side and question them about it, the abuse could actually get worse when they return back to their spouse. How would that kind of situation be? Like, how do you kind of curtail something like that?
So you have to develop a plan. You just don't pull them away. They have to develop a plan for exodus, right? And
Okay.
a lot of times, myself included, wasn't aware that I was in a domestic abuse situation. And when I became aware, I still kind of kept it to myself for the same fear that you are talking about. I was afraid of my husband. So I had to develop a plan to get that person away from me. And then I was able to, you know, work hard and pull myself up. But you don't just say, hey, leave today. It's something that they have to meticulously plan a getaway and then not
Mhm.
return. So they can do that by contacting a domestic violence center. Sometimes they're
Mhm.
full, but they'll take their name and everything so they can get on the waiting list. It usually isn't long. Like I say, they stay 90 days at a time. That's it. So they have to reach out to a domestic violence center, tell them their situation, and they will work with them on developing that plan to leave.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Excellent. Excellent.
Mhm.
Um, Now I know, oh man, it's not an easy topic where it comes to like domestic violence and abuse. How do you how do you start the conversation? Like, what is I guess a non-invasive way to have a conversation, like when you are suspicious of it.
Well, so I can give you from my experience how other people approached me. There was times when I was limping at work, and I'm a nurse, and another nurse pulled me aside and asked if I was okay. How did I hurt myself? Now, that's an opportunity for the person to be honest or not, and I think I wasn't at that time. I made up some lie because I had to go home to the abuser, just like you're talking about. But you
Hmm.
simply if they have a black eye or whatever, if they're limping, or I think one time I had something wrong with my shoulder arm. It's not. It's just having the concern and the care, and it has to be authentic and natural how you approach them. You just don't.
Yeah.
Hey, you look like you're getting beat up, but like, is there something you would like to talk about? Are you okay? That is how she
Okay.
approached me. Yeah.
Okay. So now the Golden Swan Cadre. I remember we first talked about that when we first met. I think it was last year, if
Yes.
I'm not mistaken. So we've actually known each other for a year. Thank you for being one of the returning guests. And
Yes.
also, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm sure I'm not because I've seen it the way they publicize it, you are a new member of the Village Global Network.
I am.
Yes, yes. Welcome to the
Yeah,
family, sister.
thank
Welcome to
you.
the family. Oh
Yes.
my goodness. It's so symbiotic. Like, I mean, Celia G, Kimmy K, the work that they've been doing to bring us all together has been phenomenal. And I think with what you do, it's an integral part of keeping people safe because I know with there's some stigmas associated with the genre of music that I've stereotyped to do. For the record, I do more than just rap. But
Yes.
if we're gonna talk about the stereotype for a minute, it's not known for its capacity to caress a woman tenderly, we'll say. And there's other sports and athletes that are not known for their softer side. And I'm not making excuses by saying men aren't usually allowed to exercise that. What I'm
Hmm.
saying is we need to, as men, try to come to a better understanding of how we feel before we're acting on emotions we don't understand.
Absolutely. And I tell you that rap didn't help that situation much, um, when you are demeaning women and verbalizing different body parts and calling them B's and H's and stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily help the situation, but you cannot just blame it on music. Domestic violence occurs across the spectrum in many cultures and ethnicities, genders, and in all types of families. And it is a quiet epidemic, although in plain sight. Victims are often invisible, and people don't notice that they are domestic violence victims. And a lot of times they are in denial, as was I for many, many years. And they hide behind the facade of being in a happy home. You kind of keep it, what goes on in the home stays in the home kind of ordeal. So it's not just related to the music, but sometimes it can be the ethnicity. Some women are taught to be docile, and which can create an atmosphere of abuse. So, yeah.
I, I really appreciate you saying that because I, as an artist, strive to make sure whatever vocabulary I use in my compositions are favorable to the the subject.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean I have songs that touch base on these realms, not but I haven't gone into the full realm of like I haven't touched on the topic of domestic violence except for a few conversations with you and some of the times they've come up. But I would like to actually invite you because I know you're busy, but I think this is something that we should include in the magazine so people have a better understanding of what they can do to help with these kinds of circumstances. Like,
I would love that. And we have a couple of ladies that are part of this that can contribute to that as well, that are great writers. And one is Bianca and one is Mickey G. They're
okay,
excellent verbalists and writers, and as well as myself. I get kind of wordy, like I can really write a lot, but all three of us are good at that. So we would like to participate in that. Absolutely. Now
okay, all
I'm
right.
volunteering them, but I'm sure they would do it. Yes, and if they're listening, hit the chat, engage with us, ladies.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, and yeah, if they want to, I'm more than open to having them on the podcast as well. I mean, like, I grew up, I got a lot of sisters, so growing up, yeah, no, seriously, I saw life from a different angle because of how I was with them. So I think that these kinds of these kinds of situations need attention because if we don't know how to deal with, if we're not familiar with them, we won't know how to deal with them, kind of thing. So the more familiar we are with the signs, we could probably deter some of these situations from happening.
Yep. And I just thought of another lady that is a professor that is good at writing too. So if you would like to have us do something in the magazine, we would be more than happy to do so. And Mickey G is my co-host on Gab with Golden Bronze. I know she would love to do it as well. All of them would. I just know that's the kind of people that they are. Yeah.
Well, you know what? As it takes a village to build, right? So
Yeah. Right.
as the Village Global Network, it's almost our obligation to do this building.
That's right.
Um,
I agree.
I okay. So
Mhm.
you know what? I we're gonna coordinate, figure out how to get their contact information, and then we'll set up that for for the coming weeks. But I do think it's important to bring this to the attention of people who are watching.
Okay. We're on board. Yes.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. What would you say is the biggest challenge that women have overcome in the last 50 years?
Oh my goodness. Let's see. 50 years. Well, I'm not that old, but the
But
biggest, I'm
I
going to
wasn't
go by history, okay?
okay.
So I would say, are we talking about as far as domestic abuse or just period?
In general, because like I don't like the way they limit Black history to slavery, so I don't want to limit the integrity of women to domestic violence.
Okay. The biggest obstacle is equality, women having equal anything. Now they're trying to
Mhm.
take away our equal rights to our own body, right? I know you're in Canada, but that's in the
Yep.
United States, okay? So we no longer have the right to do what we want to do with our bodies. Now, that 50 years ago was how it was. So we have gone back 50 years as far as that goes. Our biggest obstacle simply was just being treated equally, whether you were a Black woman or a white woman. And then the white women got the equal rights before the Black women. So that was number one, is just equal rights as a woman, equal
Okay.
access to employment, equal pay. Um,
There's something going around that was just brought to my attention by my station manager. If you were in a forest, right, by yourself, would you rather be with a bear or a man?
A man.
Okay, she picked a man. Okay.
Not a bear.
Because I could fight a man, but I can't fight a bear. But a lot of women are
Does she agree with me?
getting upset, and that just shows you why we think bears.
She said she took a man too because she can fight a man. She can't fight a bear.
Well, I wasn't thinking about fighting, but I can't deal with a bear. I would rather be with a man. We love men.
But-
Let me just say this. Let me get this disclaimer out there. We are not
Mhm.
male bashers. We are not man haters. We are
Nope.
some of us married, some engaged, some in relationships, and some are single. We
Yep.
advocate against domestic violence towards women because we have encountered it before.
It's important that you say that first part too, because some people, some sensitive people, a lot of them male, might take offense to that because
Right.
they think that it's oh well, or whatever. You know what I mean? But it's not.
We're not that way. We even have men that work with us in our organization. Our videographer, photographer, we've had a makeup artist, we had 2 videographers, we had another man that's a realtor that was on our steering committee. We have an attorney who's pro bono as a man. They
See?
all are advocating against domestic violence towards women.
And I think it's important that we work together to show that we can work together because the example is what needs to be set.
Right.
So,
Yeah, so I usually say that straight up front. I'm glad you gave me the opportunity. We love men.
okay, and we as men love women. So, like, we just we need to find a more appropriate way to show this emotion without feeling weird about it.
Let me
I
tell you,
don't like that.
a lot of men, and I want to say this, we are cognizant of the fact that women are abusers as well. There are women that abuse men. We are just a 501c3 nonprofit that helps women. There are organizations out there that help men, but abuse is not just physical, it's sexual, it's psychological, it's verbal, it's emotional, mental, financial, spiritual. And women do that too. There's narcissistic women that control men, that verbally abuse men. I don't know about physical, but we are just an entity that help women. That's all that
No,
is.
I've seen it before. I've seen it before where like this one dude came into the bar and he was bruised up and he was just like looking away and his wife walked in or his girlfriend walked in all triumphant behind him and I'm just like, but I didn't know what to say and like I didn't know how to approach it and like the scenario it was and I didn't know if they're just gonna go back to back with each other. So I just, kept it to myself.
Well, our
But
attorney, pro bono, and our photographer have been victims of domestic abuse on the reverse, where the women were abusive towards them. And that's why they are passionate about working with us, because they've been on the receiving end as well. So men are afraid to admit when they are being victims of domestic abuse because they're men. They don't know how to approach it.
true, very true.
Mhm.
So I guess it's just a matter. I think if we can find the root cause of it, then it's easier to deal with. But sometimes it's hidden behind years of trauma and all kinds of circumstances that people don't want to take the time to understand.
I think that the cause of domestic abuse goes back hundreds and hundreds of years, but it can be narcissistic characteristics, behavior characteristics. It
So
could
like the
be
me, it's about me all the
you
time.
made me do it. You said this, so did that, like gaslighting,
Okay.
things like that. It could, I'm never wrong, you're right mentality, because there's people out there, they're just geniuses and they never do anything wrong in their heads. It's your fault. You made me cuss you out. If you hadn't done this, I wouldn't have done that. Totally irrational. Also, it could be childhood circumstances. Dad was abusive to mom, so they think that's the way that you talk to your wife or treat your wife. It could
I
be
told,
other childhood traumas that the mother or the father abused the child when they were a child. Now they grow up to be abusive, kind of like a bully may bully a kid. Grown people sometimes do that to children, and it's abusive behavior. And then the kid grows up to treat their significant other the same way, and sometimes their children. It could be mental illness that causes people to be abusive towards other people, not knowing how to uh, deal with relationships. That's why people need to get therapy. We're not therapists, but when they go to the domestic violence centers, they do get to talk to therapists. But the abusers sometimes go without treatment, and they need therapy. A lot of people are afraid to get therapy, and I don't know why. All of us have. That's how we
I,
heal.
I think it's a stigma associated with it. You know what I mean? Like if you go to a therapist, you're crazy, or there's no like what and then the label associated with it. I mean, I myself, I've been through therapy. I understand like my limitations. I know my faults. The only way for me to improve my strengths is to work on my weaknesses. And a
That's
lot of
right.
people don't look at that. They're like, I'm strong. This doesn't bother me. Da-da-da-da-da. I'm fine. And then
Exactly.
behind closed doors, they're breaking down in tears and sobbing and doing whatever to try and reclaim their sense of self.
You're exactly right. And I thought the society was getting better with not being afraid to get therapy, but you have to get treatment to heal.
But
And
therapy is also, sorry to interject, but therapy in Canada, I don't know what it's like in the States, but in Canada, therapy is hard to get. Like right now, I think they have it so you can get you can get one call with a therapist for maybe a half an hour, and then you're waiting years to get an actual licensed psychologist or a psychiatrist to treat you. Like
it's
the one
not
that was
that
treating me
difficult.
retired.
It is not like that in the United States. It's easy to get. Yeah. It's just hard to get
Okay.
people to go get it
Uh,
because of the stigma, like you're speaking about. And mostly men.
yeah,
I think women are more adept to going for therapy than men. Yeah.
yeah, it, like it's funny because I look at my relationship and it's like, right, we're good. Like for the record, just want to put that out there. But it's like the stigmas associated with our genders are not true. They're not intact. You know what I mean? Like yes, she does cook like a magician, but I can cook too. I can put it down in the kitchen myself. You know what I mean? I think once there's a balance, yeah, you know what I mean? Like I'm hands on with technology, but she's like hands on with like carpentry in the garden. She just put the garden in the back and it's growing nicely, right? Like
Hmm.
we have that balance, like if she's doing the dishes, I'm doing the laundry kind of thing. And I think that helps maintain the integrity of a relationship where if if one person's doing all the work all the time, the other person might feel as if they're being taken advantage of. And
Hmm.
then that spirals into a whole set of resentment and confrontation over illegitimate complications. And then it's just like, I'm saying this for people to see within themselves where they might be caught up in something like this and catch themselves before it gets too far. If you have a problem with something, like if you have a problem with something or someone, if you can't talk to them, write it down, rationalize it, and then approach the person. You know what I mean? Don't just go into a situation all hot and bothered, knowing that you are an aggressive type of person. You know what I mean? It just doesn't work like that. And I'm saying this hoping it reaches at least one person and they change their mind about a course of action they might have taken that wasn't beneficial to them or their partner.
Right. True. Those things can cause arguments. It and leads to verbal abuse, and that could escalate. to physical abuse and emotional abuse. But those are things that I feel like that people should discuss before they start cohabitating together. Like, how do you
Right.
feel about this and that? So you don't encounter those conflicts of interest. But let me tell you, I had to learn that from experience because
Mm.
I didn't do it. And my husband was like, I'm not doing dishes and cooking and cleaning and blah, blah, blah. But yet I had to go to work and work just as hard and long, many hours as he did. So it
Mm.
created a problem.
Yeah. 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 I hear you, and it's like it's the some of the biggest conflicts have started from just a simple miscommunication that was just unchecked. It's like getting a chip in the windshield and not fixing it, and then watching it spider out and looking at it like, oh, guess I got to change the windshield. Just fix the chip, ladies and gentlemen. Fix the chip.
Yeah.
So I got-
You know what? Just have those hard conversations, before you end up in the household with somebody that you grow to dislike.
and even when you have those conversations, give it 4 seasons, because you know what? Everything's hunky dory when you're sweating in the sun, but when it's cold and it's bitter and you can't go outside and you're there with the person, you have to look at them face and that's up.
You
That is
sound
the person.
Jamaican.
Oh yes, oh yes. Yeah, when you're looking across the person in the cold, then you know who you're dealing with. You know what I mean? When the
Yeah.
situation's not favorable, that's when you see the real person. And you know what? Like in the last year, I have done more. Like if you were to tell me last year that I'd be doing any one of the things that I'm doing right now, 194th episode of this podcast, 405th episode of my other podcast, part of the Village Global Network that's reaching 191 countries globally, replaying this podcast on Wednesdays at 8 a.m. and the Terrell Effect on Saturdays at 8 a.m., playing your shows on there. I mean, like the Apocalypse tour that's happening June 6th, 7th, and 8th in Niagara and London. The opening for Lloyd Banks on June 23rd. The Hot Toronto tour on June 22nd. My birthday in July. August is the Afro Caribbean Festival, which we're a sponsor for. And then the Resolution brought to you by the CWF, Canadian Wrestling Federation. If you were to tell me I was going to be doing any one of those things, I'd be grateful. To be doing all of those things in succession,
Mm-hmm.
I feel blessed.
Yeah, you're
I
busy.
feel
I want to
blessed.
know about that what is it? Afro whatever in August.
The Afro Caribbean Festival, it is
Yes,
brought to you
those are
by,
off the book.
yeah, though, oh my gosh. I was so proud to be a sponsor of that. I heard it was happening. And I said, you know what? I don't care. You can use my magazine. I'll talk about it on my radio station, the podcast. Let's go. This has to happen. And I mean, we went down there. We did interviews. We got to interview everybody that went on stage. We talked to some of the vendors. We did a live stream for both days. They had clothes, they had food, they had culture, they had just music, dancing. There was games for the kids and stuff like that. It was right on the water. Excuse me. Sorry, they say all stars have gas, so I guess I'm celestial.
Oh, Lordy.
So yeah, and like Chico did amazing with the putting the organizing of it. She had some help as well with her friend. Like she just did it well. And like this year, we're looking to do a bigger. I think like if you could get up here, like you're a booth like yours, like a booth that talks
That's
about
what
what
I
you
was
talk
about
about.
to ask you. Can we be like a vendor at something like that?
You could be a vendor and we could talk about the like you get a 10 by 10 area, 10 by 10 area to set up. It's a very good price too for to set up a table. And I think like I could talk to her and see what wiggle room she has, but we are still looking for vendors. So there is still space for you to be there. It's happening in Welland, Ontario. It's happening August 10th and 11th. So if you're free around that time and you could make it up here, I'm sure we can cater to you as you require.
Wow. That'd be,
Yeah.
look, send me the information, but if not this year, next year for sure.
Okay.
Can do it.
Yeah. All right. All right. Cool. We'll do that. I
Hear
will
me,
do
Golden
that.
Swan Cadre. If we don't do it this year, next year for sure.
All right. All right. All right. Sounds good. I'll hold you to that. I'll hold you to that. And even if you want to send like some, what's it called? Like some pamphlets or something like that that we can hand out or give out so that your information's in circulation.
Oh, I
Again,
definitely
well,
can do that. Yeah.
yeah, like some QR, because I'll have a booth up there too. So like a QR code or something that people can get to your link. We can make something happen so that you're a part of it.
This is what our pamphlets look like.
All right.
And we could send those to you. We have, this is all the Golden Swan Cadre, and this is our
Okay.
vision and purpose. And I would love to send some of these to you.
Send me a box of those.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll give you my card. We'll get set up after the podcast. After the podcast. Okay, so we're about at the halfway mark of the podcast, and this is the part where I usually flip the script. Now, when I flip the script, I give the guest the opportunity to be the host and make whatever statements they have, or ask any questions they have. So, Golden Bronze, it is your floor. The floor is yours as we flip the script.
Well, I would like to kind of promote Golden Swan Cadre and request sponsors. Again, you heard us say that, well, you heard me say that we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization that advocates against domestic violence towards women. We acknowledge and recognize that men endure and suffer this as well, but we just happen to be a nonprofit that helps women. Women have a little harder time making it on their own. A lot of them are not the primary income earners, so they suffer a little harder when they try to leave those situations. We also advocate for women's health issues. We're doing a program tomorrow on maternity nutrition for unwed mothers. So we don't just advocate about domestic violence. If you would like to sponsor us, we advocate regarding all kinds of women's health issues, breast cancer, nutrition, mental health, anything that affects a woman's well-being. We work diligently with women about their self-care, which is fashion, makeup, hair, nails, how to feel good about yourself. If you feel good about yourself, it changes your whole character and your disposition. It makes you feel like, yes, I can do this. A lot of women, when they are enduring or in domestic abuse, don't care how they look, they're depressed. Again, that's why we advocate for mental health, but they don't care for their exterior. And how you feel inside kind of relays how you look on the outside. So we like to help you with self-care and mindfulness, the spirituality part of it. All of that makes the whole person. So if you would like to donate to Golden Swan Cadre, that is our mission. Our vision is to make sure that there is a society free of domestic violence. We know that we can't eradicate it, but we feel like if we help one person, two people, three people, we've done a great deed. We have helped somebody. But our whole vision is to advocate a society free from domestic violence by educating people about what it is, the red flags, and how to help other people who are afraid to remove themselves from that situation. So you can donate to us from our Facebook page, which is Golden Swan Cadre. I showed you the pamphlet a minute ago.
Mm-hmm.
The page has this logo on it. So you can go on there, and there's a place on there with a little button where you can make a donation. We are one of Facebook and Instagram's verified nonprofit organizations. You can do the same on our Instagram page, which is the official _ Golden Swan Cadre. You can also do so from our website. And not only that, you can go on those pages and read an abundance of information about healthcare, mental health. We do postings and blogs to educate people on all aspects of domestic abuse, women's health, mental health, all of the things that I just said that we advocate for. We do regular postings to keep everybody updated. So you can also donate on our website, which is www.goldenswancadre.com. There's information about us if you would like to just learn and explore about Golden Swan Cadre. You could do that on all of those information pages. Let's see. If you can donate to PayPal as Golden Swan Cadre, you can donate to Cash App, which is $ Golden Swan Cadre, and you can donate to Chime, $ Golden Swan Cadre. We don't care if it's $1 or $100 because every dollar adds up, and that's more money that we will have to help women of domestic violence.
That was a great use of that segment.
Thank you.
I am so happy. Like, as you were giving all that information, I'm sitting here like, yes, this is exactly why you do this. So people can say what they have on their mind. So they can get out the, because like I could have a list of questions, right? But if I didn't have the, what do you want to say about your company question there, you might not have had that opportunity, which is exactly why I do it there. So I'm glad and it was so professional, so effective. So like, I was like, what is that? Oh man, it was like I was watching a presentation. I'm sorry.
Thank you, David.
Some genius is revving their engine up my street, and I have my window open. I'm part jealous that my car doesn't have as much power as his, and part angry that he's doing it during my podcast.
Right. We can't hear it though. But I wanted to say this. We couldn't hear it. No.
Oh, okay.
Let me say this also. For any women out there, if you go on to our Facebook or Instagram page, you can engage with us. I had a lady in Africa who was HIV positive, and the doctor gave her some medication, and I'm a nurse, and she wanted to know, is this safe for me to take pregnant? Well, of course, I steered her right back to her physician. Well, the question I asked was, did your doctor know that you were pregnant? That's the first question I asked, because she was hesitant about taking the medication because she's pregnant. So number one, did you tell the doctor you were pregnant? And she said yes. And then he would not have prescribed anything that was unsafe for your baby. But I gave her medical information and I looped it right back to be sure to talk to your doctor, because I am not a doctor, about all these concerns that you address. We had probably 2 days of conversation, hours each, just me giving her information. Now, that's somebody that I probably helped. And that's one of our purpose, is to help women, that have women's health issues. And this lady, I don't know from a can of paint. She just messaged us on our page, and I happened to be the person that got the message. I'm not the only one that answers those messages, but that particular day, I happened to be the one to get the message and was able to help that lady. So I just wanted to stress that to ladies. If you have a question about domestic abuse, women's health, mental health, self-care, mindfulness, inbox us. We promise to answer your questions. If we don't know the answer, we'll get you where you need to go to get the answer.
Golden Swan Cadre.
Yes.
Oh man. Get familiar with the name and understand its purpose. Donate, sponsor, invest in a good cause. People trying to help people.
Yep. And let me tell you where I got that name from. Golden.
Yes, please.
Okay. So I called myself Golden Bronze way before I started Golden Swan Cadre, because I said I had a golden vibe. Everything I touch turns to gold. I love gold. Okay. So I just stuck with that. But golden, we are all in the golden era. We don't look what we've been through, but we're 50 and older. All of us. We have one that is 40, but she's on the board of directors, a very smart young lady that does a lot of administrative and treasury work for us. And then we have one that's 50, but we're all 50 and older. The youngest is 40, I'm sorry. And she's on the board, but most of us are 50 and older. Swan, you've heard that old saying, the ugly duckling turned into the beautiful swan. Well, that's us. Most of us, when we were living in abuse, we looked totally different than we look today. Some of us were beat down, trodden down, told we're ugly, just didn't care about how we looked because we weren't happy. We didn't keep ourselves up. We just were surviving. So we survived that, and now we're thrivers, and we turned from the ugly duckling to the beautiful swan. And cadre is an entity of people with a like mind and purpose. So we're Golden
Mm,
Swan Cadre.
mm. In depth.
Mhm.
The origin of cadre sounds Latin, if I'm not mistaken.
Cadre can be a group of people, a unit, or
Okay.
it can be, if it's spelled differently, it can be a military unit, but that's KADRI. It's spelled totally different. Yeah.
Okay. 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 Huh. Well, at functioning as a unit, you aim to help those, and you advocate for women dealing with domestic violence
Right. And those other
and
things, I like all
mental
that
health and women's health and self care and that and the like. And I think it's important to mention those as well because that is definitely a broad scope of things that are
other.
required in day to day life. Like you need self care, you need your mental health, you
Physical
need
health.
guidance, physical
Mhm.
care, physical health. You know what I mean? And sometimes, especially when people are caring for others, they forget to care for themselves.
Right.
So we welcome you to. I often, if I have a stressful conversation, I usually tell the person on the phone, if you start to sound like me, take a break. And and oftentimes they actually do find a chuckle in it because like conversation should be a simple thing. There's no reason for like if two people have differing opinion, it shouldn't lead to escalation. It should lead to understanding.
Exactly. But that's people that don't have the skill of emotional intelligence to know how to have a civil conversation. If you lack emotional intelligence, that's not going to happen. The conversation's going to be arrayed.
For real.
Mhm.
Indeed. Is there anyone you wanted to shout out, thank, or congratulate for any accomplishments?
Actually, I would like to shout out to all the Golden Swan cadre. I will call them off. Jordan, Bianca Magnifique, I think is how she says it. I always screw that up. Mickey G, Gigi, Angel, Lady Suzette, James, Clyde, he's our attorney. Um, Sunshine, we use aliases because of what we do. Believe it or not, some people get upset with me doing just what I'm doing. I'm not bothering anybody. I'm giving information and I'm trying to help women and we empower women. But I have gotten messages, emails that I need to cease and desist. And I'm like, I'm serious. No, no legal papers, threatening, bullying emails and messages. And somebody called me a dog because of me trying to just bring awareness. So we use aliases so that people can't come find us and find out where we live and do stuff like that. But all those ladies are in the cadre. If I missed anybody, charge it to my head and not my heart because I try to just think of everybody. Um, I think I covered everybody. I would like to shout out to you ladies. I thank you for your commitment to Golden Swan Cadre. This is not about any of us. It's not about me. It's about the purpose. And you all have signed a form stating what our purpose is. And that's why we do what we do, so we can empower women, advocate against this, and help other women. Women helping women. That's our mantra.
Indeed, one of integrity. All right. So, year-end goals. What's your mission for? Like, I mean, we're just getting a glimpse of summer right now, but do you have any big projects on the go or anything
Yeah.
you'd like some more help with?
We always need women that want to volunteer and help us become a part of this because there's a lot of work. And I don't think people realize that running a nonprofit is a lot of work. It's daily work, it's presence. And if we don't make a presence in the world out there, we might as well not even try to do what we're doing. So it's just a few of us doing everything right now. And so we do need ladies to come If you're interested in being part of the Golden Swan Cadre, inbox me and we'll talk about it. But we do have a Gathering for Greatness event coming up October the 12th, and that is one of our fundraisers. And the theme is In Her Shoes. So it's going to be a simulation where people actually get to simulate what we do when or what we have done when we're in that abusive situation to get out of it. It's going to be very good, and they'll walk away feeling differently about domestic violence. We are streamlining into more of a virtual realm right now because we are short of people within the organization to help us do this. And so we are going to be doing motivational talks with the ladies at the domestic violence centers on Tuesdays and Thursdays every month. And so each one of us is assigned a day and a time that we will be meeting with them online, like you and I are doing now, but we'll just be doing it virtually. We are going to have a lot of online seminars to educate people about what domestic violence is, the red flags, so that maybe even the light bulb might go off in somebody's head, like, I am an abuser. I need to quit doing this, that, and the other. I didn't realize that that is what I'm doing. A lot of abusers don't even know that they are. So we try to bring awareness to it that way as well, not just advocating against it, but bringing awareness to people about what it is and how to address it. Like the question you asked, how do you address somebody that you think we'll have seminars on that. They will be free seminars requesting donations. So like we won't say, oh, it's $10, $15, but we will ask if you register to attend the seminar that you give us $1, $5, $10, something, because every dollar adds up. We're going to be doing a lot of that. And we're planning for the month of February. We're that far ahead in our planning. We're doing a really big fashion show that's going to be a fundraiser, and it's going to be on Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma during Black History Month. And the lady working on that is one of our Golden Swan cadres. She is a former model, runway model, and she's working with some other models. That we hope to be a very big annual event that grows and grows and grows. So you'll probably hear me talk about that on my podcast, Gab with GoldenBronze, more as we get into the year, because we will want people to come, fly in to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and attend that fundraiser. So,
yeah. Let's talk more about Gab with GoldenBronze.
Okay. So I actually was a guest on Activated Podcast, and that is Samantha, or Same, as she called now. And I was on her podcast, and then right after me, Kimmy K was on her podcast. And Kimmy K made a call out to the public with people that were doing something different, that wanted to talk about it and take it globally, to reach out to her. So Samantha, who's been like a mentor to me, always very helpful with guiding me and giving me information, gave me that information to reach out to her. I had a very productive, engaging, interesting, and long conversation that was very good with Senior G and Kimmy K. We probably talked for an hour and a half to 2 hours on the phone, and we just vibed. So from there, I decided I wanted to join the family, the Village family, and here I am. So I am here to spread the word about domestic violence, women's health, mental health, self-care, and mindfulness globally. My co-host is Mickey G. She is also in our organization. And together, we hope to bring awareness to the world and also get sponsorships and donations,
So that your message can be heard and heard further and further. Well, you know what? Here's hoping that this reaches the ears of all those who have the time to listen.
and the
Ladies
heart.
and gentlemen, and the hearts of those who care.
Yes.
Because because realistically speaking, this is something that is happening and it's caused too many despair.
Right. You said it well.
So, thank you. Thank you. All right. So, thank you for being with us today. Again, like my philanthropy, if you will, has me acting like ultra humanitarian man. Um, I mean, she said she wanted a ferret. I said, no, we're not getting a ferret. And in my mind, I thought, in my mind, without saying anything to her, I said, you know what, I could do a small rodent. In my mind, I said, like a hamster, maybe a gerbil, big as the guinea pig. And here comes this squirrel just out of nowhere sitting in front of my car. Like, and he walks up to my feet. Like, they usually run as soon as I open the door. I'm like, okay, life
Yeah.
is, you just gotta keep living. Oh man, for Golden Bronze and the Golden Swan Cadre, this is David the Black Terrell saying, be nice to the women. Nature is a mother that deserves a lot more respect than she's getting. You understand me?
Right.
All right,
I want
there we
to thank
go.
I want to thank you for having me on as well. I appreciate it so very much. God
I
bless
would
you.
appreciate I would appreciate you coming on regularly. Like I want to do a special in March because it's International Women's Month. So
Mhm.
I'm inviting you in advance because the way things are working now, I have to plan like 5, 6 months in advance. So
Okay.
I want to invite you in advance to do a special in Women's International Women's Month, and that's what I usually do a special edition of the magazine as well because if it wasn't for my mom, there wouldn't be me. I know my dad had something to do with it, but he instilled that respect in me.
That's right. And I'll bring some of the other ladies with me the next time, the ones that I'm going to ask to help with the magazine article.
We should do a panel discussion. I'll bring some of my associates who need to a little bit enlightenment where it comes to their conduct.
All right, date. We'll do it.
All right, sounds good. Thank y'all for watching. We appreciate y'all. Episode 194 of Candid Conversations is coming to a close just like that.